Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pre-Toast Host Training with the fabulous and wonderful Debbie. We're going to talk about agendas today. Aren't you excited to know what you can do with your agenda instead of it being boring and dry? You now get to experience for yourself how important an agenda is, how to set up an agenda, and how to make it fun and lively. I and for to just get out of the way, I'm just going to let Telly go ahead and tell us about these wonderful and fabulous agendas.
All right, Jen, thank you. Thank you. So tonight is all about agendas. We have a pretty full agenda tonight. A lot of information. So let's get started. We did, because this is being recorded and sent out to the District 14 members, we wanted to make sure that you understand that we may be using your image. This is the standard District 14 disclaimer. So if you'll read over it real quickly, and I'm sure you have seen it before, but we want to make sure you understand this is being recorded. So here's our agenda for the agendas tonight. We're going to talk about access, how you give access to people to be able to update agendas. We're going to talk about creating, editing, and deleting an agenda. So you may find yourself needing to add something or edit something, and or maybe even delete an agenda. There are a lot of pathways features. We want to show you what those are, make sure you're aware of them. And then finally, there are some reports and features within the agenda that I want to make sure I can show you. So I will be doing a demo in a minute, but I wanted to walk through just a couple of things first. Excuse me. So access for agendas, you have to have authority to be able to edit and update agendas and delete agendas. Sorry. And so let's talk about that. When we talk about access, this is under the administrator. This is the administrator panel. And you can see that there is an access settings here. One of the settings here is the one that actually controls the agendas and access to the agenda settings and the templates. So we're going to demo those, but I did want to show you, this is the behind the scenes where people get access to be able to use these behind the scenes tools. And you can set up, we'll go into this live in a minute, but you can set up to 3 officers to be able to update agendas. And typically your VPE is always one of those officers, but you can set up other people that can help you with that. The other thing that is important on this access page is who is allowed to actually create and edit new agendas, or create new agendas, edit agendas. It is the VPE. VPE is the default. So you don't have to add this to have the VPE have access. However, you can add up to 2 other officers. If you want somebody to be able to help you as a VPE actually create or edit agendas, you may want to add other officers here. So that is your option. All right, so let's keep, sorry. All right. This is the area when you do give access to other officers to have access to delete and edit and add. These are the icons that they will see within the agenda itself. And I wanted to show you those because if you don't have access to these, you only see the first 4 icon buttons. If you do have access to delete, edit, or create, then you will see these additional icons on your agenda screen. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, guys. Let's talk about creating agendas. Now, can you raise your hand if you are currently using the agendas in FreeToast Host? Do we have anybody that's not using them? Barbara, you said you are. Katina and Lorraine, are you using FreeToast Host agendas?
This is Katina. No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to walk through these. If you are familiar with them, if you're not, we'll go over everything. Generally, when people set up agendas from scratch, they haven't been using them before, they're setting them up from scratch. There are kind of two rules that two different examples that I've seen people use. One is you actually set it up as an agenda. And this means that you can print it. This means that it has agenda items on the agenda itself. So you can see this has a call to order at the very beginning. It has president's welcome. Think about these as instructions for your meeting. These are agenda items. Now, some clubs, so if you do it this way, you can actually print the agenda and it will flow. You can see over here on the right-hand side, this is exactly what that agenda has. It's printing out the same information. So some people use it strictly as an agenda. We do have some clubs that simply use it as a sign-up sheet. So it only has roles listed. And then this particular club takes those roles and puts them into a Word document so that they format it a little bit differently, or they can add pictures and things like that. Some clubs do it that way. So you've got a couple of options. You can set it up either way you want to, but this particular club only has the roles and you sign up for them. And then it takes that information and creates a Word document. All right, any questions so far? I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. If you want to add agendas, the option that you have on the agenda page, and we'll go into all of this in a minute, but this is the plus sign. That is how you add agendas. This is another way that you can add agendas or set up meeting agendas or templates, and that is through the administrator login. This is the drop down at the top that has website settings, but you'll see that one of them is meeting agenda settings. Okay. And so this has an option or a button called agenda templates. So you might want to think about, when would you have a template? You would have a template when you're totally starting out from scratch. You don't have anything built. So you might want to create a normal meeting template. You might want to create a template if your club has a lot of speechathons. You can create a template that just has speakers, evaluators. We set up an agenda template for contest. And so I'll show you all of those. And that way, when you have a contest, rather than having to redo everything, you have a template that you can go to and copy. And so I'll show you some of those. The other thing we're going to talk about is editing and deleting agendas. I think we've already seen these, but generally it's the editing for the agenda is the little pencil, making changes. And then to delete is the little trash can. And so we'll actually go in and delete and edit some things in just a minute, but I wanted to show you how you get started. And then there are a lot of pathways features in Free Toast Host. This can be really helpful, especially for a VPE. The pathways features are that the pathways projects, all the projects are listed on the agenda, and I'll show you those. The evaluation forms are actually on the agenda itself. So this is nice if you've got an evaluator can go in and see the speaker he's evaluating and actually pull the form from the agenda, which is very nice. It also has the project description, and your pathways information is on the speech report. So we'll show you how you use those. But as a VPE, I use these reports all the time, and we'll show you those. Here is an example of how we would run a speech report. There's an icon, and we'll go over all of these in just a second, but this is an icon that looks like a little person, looks like a little silhouette. This is how you would select to run reports. You have a lot of different options, but here's an example of one of the reports. You can see that it has information about this person, this member's speeches. It tells you the pathways path, the title, it tells you the date they gave the speech. So this is very good information for a VPE. I use this, for example, if one of my members submits a level 1 award and I want to go back and just kind of check and see if they've done all the speeches and projects that they need to for that level 1, this is a real easy way for me to go back and check the reports. So before we go into the demo, I just wanted to show you the upcoming training. We're having several training sessions coming up. The next one is all about switches that you can turn on and off in FreeToast Host, and membership management, which is how you add members, how you track members, things like that. And so we'll go over that. If you want to take a print screen here, these will be the classes for the rest of the Toastmaster year. And then I did want to show you my contact information and Jennifer's contact information. So if you want to take a print screen here, you are welcome to. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out. And then let's have a demo. Let me get out of here for 1 second and take you into, all right. I'm going to take you into the Henry County website. Okay, so this is our FreeToast Host website. Can everybody see? Okay, good deal. I have signed in as Debbie Thompson. Now I am the VPE, and so I have access to everything, but I've also signed in as the site administrator, so I can show you some behind the scenes things. So let's do that first. We talked about access. I'm going to launch the console for the administrator. This is the screen that the administrator sees, and you can see here that it has access settings. Let's click on that. This is where I was showing you that this is how you give access to the agenda settings and the templates. And if you click on this drop down, you simply check up to 3 officers, and this will give them access to do everything they need to do behind the scenes. Typically, it is the VPE, at least the VPE on here, but you may have other officers. And then here at the bottom, it says, who is allowed to create and edit new agendas? So this may be important if you want someone to help you with the agendas or creating agendas. And so you can add up to 2 other officers. The VPE is grayed out because they are the default here. They are the default for adding information. But if you want other officers to be able to help you, you can give them access as well. Okay, let's get out of here. And then let's go into the agendas and get started. All right, so I'm going to go into the agenda. What it will typically do is take you to the next consecutive meeting. Since we just had a meeting last week, this is taking me to the 16th. But I want to show you some things in the agenda itself. So I'm going to go to the last meeting where we had all the roles filled, so I can show you several things there. Wait a minute, sorry, wrong meeting. November 2nd. Oh, wrong one. That was a special meeting. Here we go. All right. Wanted to show you a couple of things. Here are all of the options that I was telling you, the icons at the top of the menu. And this one is, if you hover over these, they will tell you what they are. This says you can email the meeting agenda out to your members. I use this all the time because it will email to every active member in set up in FreeToast Host. So that's a good way just to get information out to your members. And the email attaches this roster, this agenda. So it will tell everybody who signed up for what already. The second icon is to print the meeting agenda. This is where, if you have your agenda set up where you've got all the instructions and you tell when everybody does everything, you can print that meeting agenda. This can be very helpful. This is the meeting reports that I was talking about. So I do want to show you these, and I want to make sure that you can actually see once I go into it. So can you all see that? Okay. There are a lot of options when we run reports. And as a VPE, I run this all the time, but I run it for myself because I can't remember half the time when I did that speech or what the title was. So you can go back and get your own information, but you'll see you have a lot of options here. When I run these reports, I can run a role report. That is all the roles that the person has held. I can run a speech report that will tell me the speeches and the titles, like the report we just saw. If you're using Free Toast Host for attendance, to keep track of attendance, you can actually run a meeting attendance report. So let's run a role report real quick. I'm going to run it for myself. As VPE, I have access to everyone. If you are a member and don't have that access, that additional access, you can only run this report for yourself, but it still can be extremely helpful. You also have the option here to select a start date. Do you want to just see current things from this year? Do you want to see everything that is out there? And we actually have details from 2012. So there's a lot of stuff. Or you can select a date. You could say, I want to see everything from September 1st on. I just want to see the most current speeches or reports. Okay. So you've got a lot of options when you want to run these things. I'm just going to say all. And let me run a role report and let you see. All right. Can you actually see that? Can you see the roles on the left? Okay. These are all the roles that I have ever I might have want to narrate it, but you can tell some clubs, if you have like a circle of achievement where you give awards if somebody has done every role, this can be very helpful to go back and say, okay, Jenny has done everything. So we want to make sure she gets a circle of achievement award. Let's go back and do the speech report. All right, I'm going to do the speech report for me. I'm going to do all. Let's run that. Okay. This is very nice. I'm just going to scroll down. Well, this is fine. This is a lot, but it tells you the pathways. This is back when we had CC manual, so you can tell how old it is. But it tells you the pathways manual and the project. It tells you the title. It tells you the date that the speech was given. So this can be invaluable information, not only for the members, but it can be valuable for the VPE to help understand where someone is. If they're close to getting a level 2, then you know exactly what they need. So this can be a very, very good report, and you can run it for everyone. That way you'll have information about all your club members. So that can be very helpful. All right. This is something that I've run before. It's called Print Multiple Meetings Sign Up Sheet. And let me just run that real quick. You put in the dates that you want. I'm going to press OK. And then it gives me a grid. So this is not, we don't do a very good job of signing up for roles in the future. We need to do better at that. But if your club does that and you like to sign up for roles, 3 or 4 meetings out, this can be extremely helpful for you to go back and say, who's doing speeches, who's the Toastmaster. I've also used this in in-person meetings, print this off, take it to the meeting and pass it around as a sign-up sheet. That way, if we have roles that haven't been filled yet, I can go around and get people to sign up, and then I take that sheet back and put the information in myself. And so that can be very, very helpful to take a look in future meetings. All right, here's something that's fun, and I don't use this very much, but you can toggle between having your members' pictures and having your members' names. Okay, so this little thing that looks like a camera will and this is kind of fun to have people's pictures. If they have loaded their profile picture, then you can do that, but it will toggle between names and pictures. One of the things you can do in Free Toast Host, if you want to send an email to Ty, who is the Toastmaster, I can click on this email and get an email to her. It comes up with her email address. I can go to a speech, and this little option next to speech introduction, it looks like a little printer. If I click on that, all right, can you guys actually see this? Okay, this actually prints the speech introduction for a speaker. This can be very helpful for a Toastmaster. If you wanted to print off all the speakers' introductions, that way you have them in front of you and you can read them very easily. So that can be very helpful. And that's that little button right next to the speech introduction. If you are trying to sign up for your speech and you're not exactly sure what project you're on, there's a little link here that says Pathways Projects. If you click there, it actually takes you into a document that has all of the paths, has all of the projects. So you might go and say, well, you know, I'm in level 3, and oh yeah, I'm doing user presentation software. So it can be helpful if you're not familiar, if you're not exactly sure which project you're doing, it can help you with that. And then this is something I thought was interesting. It says, enter a complete introduction for the Toastmaster. There is a link, if you click on, that takes you into creating an introduction manual. So you can have maybe a newer member can actually go in and download this and see how to do a speech introduction, which I thought was very interesting. Okay. When we talk about the Pathways features, when you sign up for your speech, you can see that this person is doing the moderator panel discussion. It fills in all the information, including his path. But one of the nice things about this is it has his evaluation form. So if I am DeAndre's evaluator, I can come to the agenda and I can see what speech he's doing, and I can print it from here, or I can download it from here and have it available to me. It also has the project description. So let me just go. So this is the form for evaluations, and it has the project description to tell you a little bit about what the project is about. So the evaluator has this information right at the fingertips. Now at the bottom of the agenda, there's information for available for meeting notes. One of the things that my club does is we always put our meeting theme here. That way our grammarian, our table topics person can see the meeting theme, and they don't necessarily have to get in touch with the Toastmaster. They know exactly, what they're going to base their table topics questions on, or maybe how they're going to coordinate the word of the day if they're grammarian. You have an option to save these meeting notes. You have an option to actually upload a file. So you had some additional meetings, the secretary had some additional meeting notes that you wanted to upload to connect to this agenda. It also has links that you can do. So there are a lot of things you can do right here in the agendas, which is very, very nice. Any questions about any of this so far?
Debbie, okay. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Kind of relates to this. When setting up the agenda, which we do, then we drop it in the chat so that everybody has a copy of it. But my problem is I can't figure out how to print it once it's in the chat. I know it's something really basic I'm missing. Jennifer's looking at me. You should know that, but I cannot remember how to do that.
Jen, do you know? I don't think I've ever printed it from in there.
Okay, so you're saying that whoever is the Sergeant at Arms or whatever, they drop the link for the PDF in the chat. You just click on the PDF and it says download. Once it's downloaded, you click it again to open it, and then we'll open it up in whatever browser you have, unless you have Adobe, and then you click print from there. Okay. Use this in the right hand corner. If it's not, right click on the actual document, or either press Control P.
Okay. And the other question is, how do you download it into the chat? Because
so if you're the one that has to upload it in there, it depends on the Zoom, because I was in another Zoom and it only let me do Google Drive, Microsoft, and Dropbox. It wouldn't let me do my computer. So if the Zoom has the option of, everybody can go to the chat right now, and you should be able to see my computer is the one at the bottom. Go to my computer, go to the file where it downloaded, when you download it from the website, and click on that file, and it will upload it into the chat where everybody can see it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
All right. I wanted to play a little bit with these and show you some information about how we want to, if you want to delete an agenda, that is very simple. There's a little trash can here. If you click on that, I'm going to delete the January 18th. Oh, let me show you how I got here. Sorry. If you want a list of the agendas, you can see that this has several upcoming agendas. It only goes out so far, but I've got through January 18th. Okay, if you want to see further beyond just the current ones, there's a button that says list all agendas. If you click there, then you actually have agendas from, and I told you we started in 2012. So this goes back to any prior agenda that you might want to go into or take a look at. And you get to that by just clicking on this box here, list all agendas. Otherwise, you just have the most current agendas in front of you, okay? Now, I wanted to go to January 18th so I can play around and then delete this and go back. Okay, well, I'm going to delete it anyway. If you want to delete an agenda, it's very simple. It's you hover over this little trash can, it says delete. It does ask you to confirm that you want to delete it. It's asking you, are you sure? Say delete, and it is gone. But don't be upset because you can always go and add it back. But if you do, if you really mess up an agenda and you say, I just can't fix this, let's just get rid of it, you have the option to delete it. So let's go back to the 4th. All right. So I do want to talk about editing agendas and how you do that. The edit is the icon that looks like the little pencil. If you hover over it, it says edit this meeting agenda. Okay. So let's click that. It puts me now in edit mode, and you'll notice that I can edit an individual line, or I can go down to the bottom and I can add roles or add meeting agenda items. And there's some other things I can do. So I can edit an individual line item. I can delete an individual line item, or I can move things up and down. So let me show you how to do that. Let's say that we want to add a joke master to this meeting. We don't have that listed as one of our roles, but I'm going to add joke master. Okay. And it comes up with one because I've added a joke master in a previous meeting, but I'm just going to say is a funny joke. Okay. I'm going to say that's going to take about 2 minutes. All right. So anytime you add a role or an agenda item, you have some questions that you need to answer. And this is very important because this is what kind of controls the reports that goes on and things that happen. And so this says, this is a role for which members can sign up. Absolutely. I want members to be able to sign up as a joke master. So I'm going to click this as yes. This is a speech. No, joke master is not a speech. So I'm not going to click this. This is actually what clicks if you say this is a speech, that's what gives you all that pathways information, intro, title, all of that. So that's what triggers that. But this is not a speech, so I'm not going to select it. This role should appear on the printed material. Yes. So I'm clicking there, and you can see those were actually defaults. The person assigned to this role can edit this meeting agenda. So I probably don't want the joke master to be able to edit. So I'm not going to click on that one. It also has something that says ignore this role or item in historical reports. So because this is a joke master and it's a role, I want it on all my historical reports. So I'm not going to check that one. I'm going to save it and close out. Now, when it adds a role or an agenda item, it adds it to the very bottom. All right, so we can see here that it added to the very bottom. I've got 2 of them. I must have added it before. All right, now I'm going to go in because I don't want it to be at the bottom. I want it to be up toward the top. I'm going to delete one of them. I must have added it when I was playing. Okay. If you want to move agenda items up or down, you can use this button over here to move it up or down, and you can see how it moves. Or if you select it over here, you can actually move it up this way. So if you know you want it to go toward the top, you can move it up that way. Or again, you can move it this way. Okay, that makes sense? All right, so that's where I want it. I'm going to save this. Let's say you're using agendas where you print it and you want to add an agenda item instead of a role. So I'm going to add an agenda item for the general evaluator. Okay. I'm going to say, but this is, think about this as instructions. So I'm going to say the general evaluator calls on speech evaluators. Sorry. Calls for reports. That's counter. Sorry. Grammarian, timer, etc. And then gives general evaluation. Okay, so this again it's an agenda item and it's more like instructions. I'm going to say that. Oh, before I do that, I need to look at my questions, remember? So I'm going to say that is going to take about, let's say 10 minutes. Just put some time on there. This is a role for which members can sign up. No, because they're going to sign up for general evaluator because this is instructions and an agenda item. I don't want them to be able to sign up for this role. It's just going to be printed on the agenda. It's a speech? No, so I'm not going to check that. This role should appear on the printed. Yes, absolutely. It should appear on the printed agenda. The person assigned to this role can edit. I'm not going to add that. Ignore this role in historical reports. I'm actually going to check that because I don't want this. This is not anything I actually want to keep history for. So I'm going to say, no, don't move it over because this is just instructions. It's not a role that somebody took. So I'm going to say that. Excuse me. Again, it's going to go down to the bottom and then I'm going to move it up. I want it to be right above the evaluators. Okay, so right after table topics, then the general evaluator is going to do his stuff. I'm going to save that. Okay, close. And then there we go. And see, it doesn't have a sign up because remember we marked the box that said people can't sign up for this. Okay, I see Monica, you have a question.
Debbie, DTM Thompson, I do have a question. Sometimes we have guests that come to our meetings and they want to speak. They want to speak or they want to tell a joke or they want to do table topics.
Okay.
Members, they are guests. So what do you recommend?
Okay. We actually added some bogus members so we could do things like that when we have visitors or maybe our area director is going to take a role for us. Let me show you our sign up. Okay. And this is just the best way for me to show you. When you do a drop down, these are all the members in your club, right?
Right.
Okay. We have added a member called honored guest. And so we have somebody who's going to come in who is an honored guest, who is not an official member, but maybe say our area director is coming for a visit. And she said, you know what? I want to be your Toastmaster. That's probably unlikely, but I can sign an honored guest up. And let me go ahead and save that. All right, so it's got that here, but then I go down to the notes and I say honored guest, area director, Jane Doe. And I would say that in my meeting notes. So now I understand, well, and I might even say honored guest Toastmaster. Oh. Sorry, I can't type when you all are watching me. Okay. But this might be if you had a speaker that, you had somebody from a sister club come in and say, I'd like to give a speech, then I could sign them up as an honored guest, and then down, honored guest, there it is. Down in the bottom, I can say, this is JD Dirk-Snyder. She's going to be visiting our club and giving us a speech. I can capture her speech information, but it's just kind of a bogus member that we've added. Does that make sense? Does that answer?
It kind of does, but I guess how would that person get the agenda? I guess is my next question. Because we email out the agenda.
Okay, so when you email the agenda, you've got something here, and what I would probably do is, because this doesn't have her name, I would probably put it here and save it under my speech details. That way, I can use this email and it attaches the meeting agenda to it. So if people are looking at the email, they will see that we have an honored guest, speaker number 1, and it is JD Dirk-Snyder. So let me.
I think Debbie, she's talking about how do you get it to the honored guest. I guess you would have to directly send it to them once you send out the agenda. Just forward them a copy.
What
the reason I asked that question is because a professor from Georgia State University have some of their communication students that one of their projects is to do a speech in Toastmasters.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if a student says, Monica, which I've had, a student said, Monica, I want to do a speech on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I have an email address, but I know I can't send them an agenda through the website because they're not a member.
Right. What I do in cases like that, I send the agenda to myself and then I email it to them. I know that's an extra step, but there's really, because you don't have them as part of your system, now, Sammy, you were telling me something that your club does. I think they actually add people.
Yes, we do. We
Yeah.
actually, anytime we have a guest speaker, we add them as a member. And then we can also go into members management and populate their picture. Once anybody is added to members management, then they will get a copy of your agenda when you send it to all of your members.
Right.
Then after they finish speaking, we move them to guest speakers, so to start to build on our distribution list. So
Okay.
our distribution list goes back like 2016, 2006, or whenever so anytime we have anything special going on, we'll always have their email. But when you add them to members management, remember they're going to be treated like a new member, so they have to opt in.
Yeah. So
I have a question. I have a
Sometimes
question about
people
this.
don't
So
wanna-
does that mean that they have to pay? Don't they have to pay to
No,
become a
no,
member?
no.
That can get very confusing. Plus, if you forget to move them, they're actually listed as a member in your club. So that's why I use the honored guest system, and I just email. But there's a report. I can go into the speech report and I can run a speech for all of my honored guests. And that way I have a report of what they've done, if it comes up with anything. I have a report of what they've done, but we never added them as speakers, if that makes sense. So it sounds like you've got two options. It's just whether you want to be adding a lot of people to your free toast host and then moving them to guest, or if you just want to have a, you know, honored guest member name, and then you would have to individually. So I would mail this email to myself, and then I would forward it to them. It's just an extra step, but that way we never put them in our system. We just make a note of it in the notes. Does that help?
We like adding people to our system because we've been adding guests. It's a folder out there called guests in your members management.
Right.
And you know, it's a way to, you know, have like starting a distribution list.
Right.
Getting your information, you know, but you'd always have to remember to move them out of member management. I mean, as a VPE, I mean, you're going to reconcile members management all the time. Even VP of membership should be reconciling members management to Toastmasters International to make sure that the people listed are indeed active. And then anybody who's, you know, not active, or if you forget, it's really easy just to move them over. It's a command. You just move everything about them to guests, but we just never delete anybody once we add them. It's really a luxury for us. We treat it like as an addition to our guest list. It's good to have like a growing guest list.
And we have that, Middle Georgia Toastmasters, we have a growing list.
One thing you have to be careful about, and I'm sure you have to be careful about this in your spreadsheet, is you need to make sure it is accurate. That is one thing that if you're going to keep history, make sure that you may have somebody sign up for a speech and they don't show up. You need to make sure you go back in and remove them as a speaker or remove them as a Toastmaster, whatever role they were doing, so that it doesn't keep that history, and so that your history is very accurate. So that is another thing. But as a VPE, I always go in after our meetings and update anything that was different. So Free Toast Host has all of that. So let's keep going. Okay, but hopefully, so you just need to think about which way you want to do that. And actually the next session next month is all about membership management. We'll be showing you all of those groups, how that works, a lot of that stuff behind the scenes. So if you want to know more about membership management, that's actually the session for next month. Let's talk about, so we've talked about how you edit. You can add anything in here that you want to. If you want to have a special speaker do, if you want to have games, you can put that agenda item in here, move it where you want it. And then when you print your agenda from here, it'll have, you know, games, and then whoever's responsible for leading the games, or you can have just whatever, you know, you can have, we've had meetings where we have 3 rounds of table topics, 3 different table topics masters. So you can come in here and put table topics 1, table topics 2, table topics 3. And that way you can have different people sign up for those different roles. So you can do whatever you need to and be as creative as you want to be as far as these agendas and getting them set up. Okay. All right. One other thing, last thing I wanted to show you was how you can create new agendas. And so you can have people sign up for future agendas, but so this icon is called Create New Agendas. Okay. I'm sorry. Agendas. Okay. All right. You'll notice that, excuse me, when you create a new agenda, this is if you already have the agenda set up. So I'm going to go into my meeting date. I'm going to press on the meeting date. It actually comes up with a calendar. And remember, we have everything set up for through January, I believe, January 2024. I'm going to add the next meeting, which would be, we meet first, third, and fifth. I'm going to add the next meeting. And it always asks you, if you add an agenda, which one you want to copy. So I'm going to say I want to copy the 19th. I want to save it. And it will tell you here that's been created. And I'm going to close it. Okay, it's taking a minute. Here we go. All right, it's come up with January 1st. So it's as easy as just going in and setting up. So you can see now we have February 1st is out here. If I wanted to continue adding agendas, this is how I would do it. I talked about templates for a minute, though. I want to show you that. Actually, let me go in another place. Okay. So if you have never set up free toast agendas before, or you want to set up templates, then you need to go behind the scenes into the administration part. So we're going to do that. We're going to go into the administration. And remember, I said you always look here to see if you find what you're looking for. If you don't, then go up here to the drop down. And you notice I don't see anything about agenda settings here. So I'm going to go here and I see meeting agenda settings right here. All right. So I'm going to go there. This is where, if you are creating from scratch, you never had anything, this is where you would build your regular meeting roles. So you would add Toastmaster and General Evaluator, and you would need to decide if you want to do this as an agenda where you have all the instructions, or if you just want this to be a sign up where you just have the sign up roles. But if you want to do a template, let me show you some of the ones that we've set up. Here is a contest template we've set up. Let me pull that up for you. If you'll notice, though, it's got Sergeant at Arms 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got ballot counter 1, 2, 3. It's got humorous speech contestant 1, 2, 3. It's got for the evaluation contest, it's got contestants here. It even has one for the test speaker. And so we set this up anytime we have a club contest. You can actually copy this template and it will create it. So you don't have to create it again. You don't have to sit there and put all that stuff in there. The other template we set up was a speechathon. And a lot of times people have speechathons where they just have speakers and evaluators. We set this up so that anytime we have a speechathon, we can just copy this template and it adds this template. So we don't have to go in and make a lot of changes or updates. So you could even, if you want to add one here, let's do one for an open house. Okay. I would go down and let's see, I want to add an open house template. I would do this here and then save it as a template, and then I can go in and maneuver it and set it up the way I want to. So anytime you have a meeting or a meeting that's a little bit special or has different roles or things like that, you can set up templates to help you. Does that make sense? I know we've gone over a lot of things tonight. Do we have any questions? You guys are being very quiet. I can tell you that I could not be a VPE without Free Toast. I rely on it for so many things to help me with understand what speeches people have done, to keep track of the roles, things like that. And so this has been very, very helpful as a VPE. All right. Any more questions? I know we went over a lot tonight. You guys are quiet.
Responsibility as a VPPR to keep up the club website. And my plan, it's been my plan for a couple of months now, but my plan is to make sure I make our website active again. I received the prospective inquiries. I do send people email once they've inquired about our meetings and send them the agenda and put them on our prospective email list. And I know
Mhm.
that things I definitely need to work more with, which is our website.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the whole thing about really driving people to your website is that you have updates for them, but this is where they can sign in for roles, and they don't have to contact you to be able to do it. They can just go into the website and update anything, sign up for roles, things like that. So it does really help you out as a VPE and even a VPPR to drive people to your website to get that information. Okay. All right. Anything else? I think we're just about out of time. Our next session is going to be about some switches that are in Toastmasters, some things that you may not be aware of, and we're going over membership management. Sammy had talked a little bit about that. Monica, you talked about that as well. We're going to talk about the different groups. There's a guest group, a prospective member group. There's former member groups, things like that. And so, excuse me, we'll be talking about that next. And that really links in with a lot of the stuff in Free Toast Toast anyway. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we leave? I think Jen, did you want to say anything?
That was awesome, Debbie. Thank you so much. Yes, that's the information, and the link to the recording will be out in some processes so that you can review it again and again until you feel comfortable with working with agendas. I do want to remind everyone that on Friday at 6 p.m. is our Tech Savvy PR and Video Hub training with myself, Sandra, and Jerry. So just a reminder about that. And if you are looking for a newsletter or haven't gotten a newsletter, please let me know. However, in the meantime, and hopefully it did save this time, if you go to our District 14 website and go to the top and you see newsletters, all the newsletters from the past year, from when I started in July, are there. So if you need to go back or even take a look at that gavel that Debbie put out about a month ago, you can go back there and look at the newsletters. And if you are looking for detailed information on the conference, that page is also up as well. It gives you information on what the tickets entail. Because there still are some early bird tickets left. Just want to remind everybody that with the early bird, it's the lunch on Friday. The dinner on Friday and the lunch on Saturday. The dinner on Saturday night is on a separate ticket called the game. So that is the only major change from last year registration to this year. But if you wanted to see all the details, go to the website. And that's all for this evening. Thank you so much for coming out. And I hope y'all have a wonderful one. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.